I did Amazon, I did eBay, I did Shopify, I had brick and mortar businesses. Follow me right now as my main objective every day is to try to make money from the stock market. I'm on the road to 3 million. This episode, I'm not sure what it is, but this is just an intro. And right now you can see me break down videos on here on my YouTube. Look at the books, check everything out, and be in touch. Message me through here, Twitter. Get up with me. It's going to be a phone number, an email, and we can talk about any subject, stocks, crypto, what we need to in business. Let's go. Right? And also, if you're taking certain, parameters from other people's strategies, they're all telling you don't invest money into these coins that you don't want to lose, right? So if you're worth 100,000, you can't put 100,000 into Bitcoin, which is right now. But even back then, when it was, around COVID, 20 or whatever. Let's see. Matter of fact, I'm gonna jump in on the chart so I can screen record. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to come on, first and talk about is just how a lot of these coins, like I said, you can look at them as an investment, a trading vehicle. You also can get points on your coins, right? Same with dividends like a stock. That's what a lot of people don't know, which when I pull up this clip, I'm pretty sure both of them that were speaking on the crypto, they don't know that, right? They had mentioned that the one that's, big on stocks, he's saying like, oh, well, I invest in stocks and I get dividends. I can take a loan against it. So if he has a stock portfolio worth $1 million, he could take 250,000 and put on his house or just have the cash. He can, whereas though he doesn't have to have a job worth X, that's good as money, right? The other guy's talking about gold. Well, with crypto, there's people who do that same exact thing. They have they have one Bitcoin right now worth 100,000. They can get a loan just on the fact that they have that Bitcoin, if that makes sense, right? So with Bitcoin, and breaking that down, yeah, right now, 103,000, close to 104, probably on some exchanges, and at the end of the day, what I had saw earlier with that clip, as it's coming down and you see here after COVID, you just get nothing but upside from there, right? So we just go up and we reach, 60,000. It was I'm seeing 65, 60, yeah, 65. Now I remember it being just crazy because everybody's in it, everybody's FOMO, and then saying it's gonna get to 100. Dogecoin was going up at that time, Ethereum was going up at that time, everything was. Solana, certain things reaching all-time highs. But at the end of the day, if you FOMO into anything, you have to realize what your risk is, and that's me included. At the time, I was in so low in some of these coins that in my mind, it's like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? Which did end up being true for some of them. Dogecoin being one of them I can think of, especially because I was up so much in terms of percentage-wise, thousands-wise, too. And at the end of the day, in my mind, once I withdrew what I had invested plus more, which, let me see, I think the first initial investment was like 700, right? Now, obviously, I was basically averaging in the whole time. Now, that wasn't my plan. I was planning to probably hold it all, right? But that's not what ended up happening, because it's like you're going back and forth. You're hearing, oh, well, this can go to $50. This can go. So you might switch and say, yeah, so as we bring up all the cryptos, right here, we have Bitcoin. Obviously the leader, Bitcoin is king, right? And that's what any channel about crypto is gonna say. They should be anyway, unless they're maybe trading. Yeah. So as we just bring up all the cryptos, looking for quick pumps or right here, whatever they're shorting, whatever. But as far as crypto in general, Bitcoin is down. Everything is down. and
Ethereum,
that's what
all the big ones,
any
even a lot of the
channel
trash
about
coins.
crypto is
But
gonna
obviously,
say. You know, they should be
with some of
anyway,
the very
unless they're maybe
speculative
trading
and risky ones, they can go
just
up and
trash
down, whatever,
coins,
right? Just like
looking
penny
for quick
stocks or
pumps, or
whatever in the stock market.
whatever they're shorting, whatever. But
I mean,
as
and
far as
Bitcoin
crypto
is
in
chasing
general,
all-time highs,
Bitcoin's
right?
down,
So that all-time
everything's
high
down.
at 105 right up
Ethereum,
here.
all the big ones, even a lot of the trash coins. But obviously,
at that
with
point,
some of the very
to some people,
speculative
again,
and risky ones, they can go up and down, whatever, right? Just like penny
at the
stocks or
beginning,
whatever in
it's
the
that
stock market.
there was a lot of people that thought it was going to hit it right over here.
Bitcoins is chasing
right in
all-time highs,
2021,
right? So that all-time high at 105 right up
A
here.
lot of people, it's at 60, it's 50. Even though right here
At
you
that
see
point,
that double top, that
you
was
know, to some
very,
people,
very
again,
ugly.
this
right?
is 2020.
Again,
At
there
the
was
beginning,
a lot
it's
of
that.
people who at that
There was a
time,
lot of people that thought it was
they
going to
were
hit it right
pushing
over
for it
here,
to go from
right
here
in 2021,
right up to
me
100,000.
included, right? A lot of people,
right?
it's at 60, it's 50,
And there's
even though
people
right
that
here
they
you see
lost
that
their
double
shirt,
top,
point
that was
blank period. Some
very,
people,
very ugly, right?
Although I will say this, if they
again,
were
there was
averaging
a lot of
if
people
they were
who at
going
that time,
little by little,
they were
they
pushing
wouldn't
for it
have
to go
lost,
from
right?
here
Now, if they
right up
didn't
to
cash out, they
100,000,
would have
but it didn't, right?
took an unrealized loss per
And
se
there's
on the
people
profit,
that
right?
they lost their
but
shirt,
at the end of the
point
day,
blank period.
Bitcoin
Some
was
people,
at zero at some point
although
in
I
time,
will say
right?
this, if they were averaging
a penny,
if they were
2
going
pennies,
little
5
by
pennies.
little,
So
they
imagine
wouldn't have
5
lost,
pennies
right?
goes to
Now,
60,000.
if they didn't cash
You
out,
really
they
think you
would have
can lose from there, right?
took an
Bitcoin
unrealized
is,
loss per se on the profit, right? But
I
at the end
guess
of the
from
day,
a percentage
Bitcoin was
standpoint,
at
it has
zero
to be
at
the
some point in
highest
time,
climbing
right?
asset ever because it was
A
worth
penny,
nothing.
two
Then it's
pennies,
worth
5
100
pennies.
something
So
thousand.
imagine
years
5
years
pennies
later.
goes to
Whereas
60,000.
real estate
You
is
really
double,
think you can
triple,
lose
10
from there,
times,
right?
whatever.
Bitcoin is,
This is 1,005 times.
I
right?
guess
or
from
more
a
than that,
percentage
because again, it
standpoint, it
was
has
worth
to be
nothing.
the
Now
highest
it's one
climbing
of them is
asset
worth
ever because
100,000,
it was
right?
worth nothing.
Obviously,
Then
nobody
it's
saw
worth
that
100
back in
something thousand,
2011
years
and
years
all
later.
these times, whatever.
Whereas though, real estate is
Right,
double,
but
triple, 10
now we're
times,
here,
whatever.
the only thing
This
I would
is
say about that is
1,005 times, right,
with
or
it
more
being
than that,
king
because
is
again, it was worth
you can't
nothing.
invest
Now
in
it's
these
one
other
of them is worth
coins
100,000, right?
and
Now, obviously,
think that,
nobody
oh,
saw
well, I'm
that
too
back
late for
in
Bitcoin, because that means you're
2011
too late for
and
the
all
other
these
coins
times,
too.
whatever.
You could trade
but
them. Right?
now we're here,
They're gonna
and
go up
the
and
only
down,
thing
but
I would
to
say
think
about that is,
you hear a lot of
with
people
it
think
being
they're too
king
late
is,
for Bitcoin. This
you
is
can't invest in these other coins
Look at all these other ones, and
and
these are
think that, oh, well,
top
I'm too late
cryptos.
for
You have
Bitcoin,
Ethereum
because
right
that
here,
means you're too late for the
Dogecoin
other
right here,
coins
Solana
too.
right here.
You could trade
Not
them,
only is
right?
Bitcoin
They're
worth
gonna go up and down,
100,000,
but
and these
to
are
think
worth
that
250,
you'll hear a lot of
4,000.
people think
You
they're
see,
too late for Bitcoin.
look at the
this, this, and
difference
that.
on that.
Again,
But not even just that. If you just look at
look
the
at
chart,
all these other ones, and these are
that's
top
why I
cryptos.
put them
You
right
have
here.
Ethereum
This
right
is
here,
free. This isn't no
Dogecoin right
course.
here,
Look.
Solana right here. Not only is Bitcoin worth
Just from a
100,000, and these
technical
are
standpoint,
worth 250, 4,000. You see, look at the difference on that. But not even just that. If you just look at the chart, that's why I put them right here. I mean, this is free. This isn't no course. Look,
let's do that.
just from a technical standpoint, I mean, let's do this.
Right? Which one would you rather be invested in? Because if you invested right here around in COVID, whether you were early, if you were early, you tripled your money, quadrupled your money, whatever, right? It was, I remember screenshotting it, right, at 16,000. This was around COVID. I remember thinking to myself, like, damn,
which one would you rather
should
be
I put
invested
some more
in?
money in this?
Because if you invested right here around in COVID, whether you were early, if you were early, you tripled your money, quadrupled your money, whatever, right? It was. I remember screenshotting it right at 16,000. This was around COVID.
Maybe this was a few
I remember
weeks
thinking to
before,
myself,
let me
like,
see.
damn.
Yeah,
Should I put some more
12?
money in this?
Yep. So then we get
what's
that
going
right
on?
up.
Businesses
And
are shutting down.
yeah,
Obviously, I had a business at the time.
I was investing in
and
this.
I literally remember I saw
all
the
of these on
screenshot,
the screen
16
plus
something,
probably
whatever
10
it
more,
was,
right?
21
Which,
after
again,
that. Maybe this was
some
a
of
few
them
weeks
they
before. Let me
skyrocketed.
see.
Axie Infinity.
Yeah, 12.
That's off the top of my head. I was
so
in
then
that.
we get
I
that
mean,
right
it
up.
was
And
maybe
I mean,
5
yeah,
cents,
I
and it
pushed
went
it.
to $5
I was
or
investing in this.
something crazy. Let me
There,
see if
all
that's-
of these on this screen, plus
For
probably
reference,
10 more, right? Which, again, some of them, they skyrocketed. Axie Infinity, that's off the top of my head. I was in that. I mean, it was maybe 5 cents, and it went to $5 or something crazy. Let me see if that's even on here for reference, right? Yeah, so, end of the day, I'm gonna pull that up though. Let's
See right here with Axie Infinity, as this right here, look at how it jumped to 50. You see what I'm saying? Now this, I don't know this exchange. We'll try to pull it up on another one real quick. Hold on. Is it cracking? Let's go crypto. Okay, so they got it back here. You'll see. What was that? March 2021. You see what I'm saying? And the it's crazy. It's crazy to jump on this. And I was getting in it early because my strategy, I used to literally play crypto.com. I'll break that down in a whole nother video, but a lot of crypto.coms, I would get plays from them because I was getting plays also from Tim Sykes watch list. So when I'd see stuff on the top gainers, I was kind of mixing the strategies, right? So in certain cryptos like this, Axie Infinity, now I didn't ride it the whole way up to 160, but let me just show you from a perspective, right? $4. So if you put 4,000, that would have been 150,000. Literally, what was that? A year later? No, not a year later. 7 months later, if that. 6 months later, you know what I mean? And it was crazy at that time because again, that look when this is November 2021. I'll come right back here. Let's go to, come on. Oh, sure. Okay. November 2021. See? It's not a coincidence. It peaked. And then Bitcoin dropped. Sure. What's that? 70%? 74%, right? So for me, again, Bitcoin recovered. All these other ones, they didn't recover. Solana did. And that's why I have this here, because I had ADA here earlier, Cardano. I'm sure a lot of y'all have either played with that, held that, heard of it. Big project with a, big following or whatever you want to say, which is, again, a whole nother video. Crypto has a lot of layers, man. Like, it's not just as simple as stocks or something. There's people who hold it. There's people who fake hold it and been sold, but they're holding some. There's people that are holding from low on some of these that, in my opinion, unless it, not even my opinion, just mathematically, if they took profit on some of these cryptos, the only way they're ever going to lose is if they go to zero, right? So again, with Bitcoin, for example, you put $20 in it and it went up to 100K. Well, you could have took out 80K. And with that other 20, how do you ever lose? You never put anything, right? And there's really people who have made money like that, right, from it. But let's go and just pull up Bitcoin just to make it a little more simple. So, or not simple, but so I can explain this in this way, right, as well. If you bought here, whatever, yeah, you took some drawdown, but if you took your money, right, and it's up here, the only way you're going to lose again is if it just breaks, if it just one day, whatever, which if you know about Bitcoin, and I won't get into all that because that's so much in depth. I can't just give that in 10 minutes or whatever, but with Bitcoin and how it's set up, it kind of, in my opinion, it can't go to zero. There's already so much of it going, right? It's like, can gold go to zero? Well, how? Because so much gold has got flushed down the toilet, put in the ocean, this, and that.
So it's limited in a sense where we'll never have all the gold, right? There's only a certain amount of Bitcoin. We'll never have all the Bitcoin because of lost passwords, because of this, of that. Bitcoin getting stolen, it gets flipped to this, that ends up being held here, whatever the case, right? The government has $1 million in Bitcoin they're selling right now. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So, without going too much further in that, right? Just in Bitcoin, how do you lose from there, right? But at the same time, if you were buying here, you got spooked out and you sold, you did lose. If you were buying here, which is where a lot of people were buying, a lot of people around this time, right? And as you see, they could have 50% on their money, pretty much they could have made, right? They if they would have put in 40, they could have got 60K. But I guarantee you, most of them didn't sell. You know, they didn't sell all of it, right? You can scroll YouTube and see that. You can look on Google and see that on all of these cryptos, right? Now, again, if they were just holding Bitcoin, they'd be up right now, pretty much double, right? Borderline double from 40, obviously way more than double, right? But at the same time, a lot of them weren't just holding Bitcoin. I wasn't just holding Bitcoin. And I definitely wasn't taking all the profits that I would be taking now, right? But at the same time, I wasn't looking at all of these as just a trade, right? But if you are, you can't look to put everything in at once. You can't look to say, okay, I want to own a Bitcoin. Bitcoin is 100,000, right? That doesn't mean tomorrow you go put 100,000 and buy one Bitcoin. Even if you have 1 million, if you got 10 million, if you're only worth 200,000, I definitely wouldn't recommend you to put that all in the Bitcoin if that's your situation. But whatever, right? My point is, you want to slowly average in. Because if you did that even back on this run up, where people were, oh, it's over. So this is 4 years ago now, right? People swore it was over this whole time. If I could just tell a story like that, uh, this whole time people are thinking it's over, right? Obviously they were mistaken, but at the same time you were down money. But if you just averaged in, and your average was 50, 60, 70K, not only are you up 30, 40, 50% right now, but you didn't have as much risk on the downside, right? And I mean, end of the day, for me, it makes perfect sense. But with some of these other ones, I'll say it just like this: there's potential reward in them, but to me, the space can be early, and it can either go this way, right? I'll be straight up. This is how I see it. This is how I would play it. I'm not telling anybody to play it like this, but you just use common sense, right? So, okay, what's that, like $2 right there? So I got this resistance at $1 and $2. Now this right here where it's saying it went to 280, it actually went to like three something. I remember. Maybe on some exchanges it went to more. That's the other thing about crypto, right? Like I keep saying, it's layered. On here it's saying 286 was its high. But I'm sure it went to three and past three. I remember watching it, and I'm sure if I pulled it up on TradingView or something, it would show that. Whereas though it's Apple, if Apple is at $200, it's at $200, right? And that's important because when you're playing with big money, there's a big difference between 280K and 300K, right? Whatever. So boom. With this one, Cardano, I like this. I don't hate it. I wouldn't tell you to buy now, whatever. But as you see, you got demolished up here from $3 down to 24 cents. You lost 90%. If that's what you were in and you held it, you bought it on the same trap as Bitcoin. This is where it gets weird at though with crypto, and I have to say this because I don't want to regret it later not saying it. And this is, to be fully transparent on how I see it. From a trader perspective,
it's a terrible hold, right? From a trader perspective, it is a terrible hold to just, oh, I like it, it's breaking out, I'm gonna buy it and hold it. Terrible, because you're gonna end up getting rugged, right? You're gonna end up saying, oh, I think it'll go up. It's gonna millions of cases about it. Look at Dogecoin Millionaire. These are people that played with millions and thought that. Now, on the pro side of crypto, on the good side is if you hold it, some of these coins that are beaten up bad, Ethereum, you know what I mean? Ethereum is ugly to me. Let's see. This is a stock platform, so it's not. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. That's ugly, that resistance at 4K. You put 40K, you ain't want to see that go down to 11K. That's hard. That's rough. 40 to 11, 400K to 100K. Some people are down like that. But obviously you see it recovered 3 times. And this is the technicals. Again, I'm looking at it from a trader standpoint. But why I will say why I'm not gonna tell you or myself or anybody that that's 100% valid. This is why. Number one is staking crypto and the other things, meaning just like you get dividends for stocks, you can get extra crypto by holding it. So whether you bought some of these high or low, again, the good ones, not uh baby Elon coin or some weird shit that's just, going up, a hype coin, right? But some of these like Ethereum, you would have got more Ethereum by holding it, right? So if you put 4K in, no, let's just say you put 2K in, it went to 4K. You made 2K, obviously. But if you're staking it, you would have made like 2.3K because you would have got more Ethereum just for holding it, right? Same with the stock. If you buy a stock and get dividends, you're getting more of the stock if you reinvest, right? So not only are you making money with them, but they're giving you a piece, right? And if you're holding a lot of Ethereum or a lot of Bitcoin or whatever you're staking from a low price and you're getting them as they're going up, it does add up, right? I've seen it, I've done it, and I've done the numbers on it even in big numbers. Now, is it risky? Definitely. I'll give you this too, right? This is a good comparison. If we say stocks, real estate, uh, crypto, let's put all of them in a basket, right? Crypto's by far the most risky. By far, right? By far the most risky. But is it the most rewarding? Uh, that's where it can get weird. Cause if you got in early and you're still staking, I mean you're gonna be up, unless you're in a bad coin, unless the platform goes wrong, unless you lose your password, your seed phrase, But some people don't do the seed phrase because they have it on an exchange, which can be risky too. You see what I'm saying? You're not gonna wake up and your Apple stock is just not there. It has your name on it, right? Your house, if you own it and you got the tax money, I mean, it has your name on it, right? This crypto, man, this is scarier game. This is, and let's put gold in that too, right? Crypto's by far more risky, right? But at the same time, again, to my point, I can draw any line I want on these charts. Any YouTuber can. You can speculate for hours and days, but we could be early to all of this, right? Just like the dot-com bubble, just like all these ones. How many stocks, these guys will tell you that are veterans that were trading back then 20 years ago. They will tell you, oh, some stuff, it just kept going. It never, look at eBay, look at Amazon, they never stop going, right? So equivalent to like, I can draw this line that I have right here at 4K, but Ethereum in a year, I'm not saying it will do this, but it could possibly in a year be past 4K and never touch 4K again and be at 50, be at 20. Do I think that's likely? No, I'm going to be more realistic. It could be at 10K though, you know? In other words, this line right here could mean nothing. It could be up here and just do what it has to do. Play around 5, break 5, come back down, and then we look at 4K like, oh wow, we could have bought Ethereum at 4K and it's at 20, right? Now, Ethereum probably isn't the best example for me, because I'm not bearish on Ethereum, but I don't love it how I like Bitcoin or Solana, right? And let me pull this up real quick, because my main thing with Solana, again, that has to be a whole nother video because it's layered, right? But Solana does a lot of what people liked Bitcoin for, right? So, back in the day, people like Blackberries, they like Sidekicks, they liked a whole bunch of phones, right? But Apple kind of solved all that. So, like Ethereum, you know, people they need it. NFTs, they're sending Ethereum, they're using Ethereum for certain things. But I mean, anybody can attest to this who's traded, who's sent Ethereum, who's whatever. I mean, you're spending. Let's say you send 1,000 and you spend $6 in Ethereum to send your money to Ghana or wherever you want to send money, right? It might take 10 minutes and cost you $6, which is cheaper than Western Union, cheaper than maybe whatever, Penguin and them apps. But as far as with Solana, you could send Solana and it'll be there in 1 minute for maybe $1 on that same transaction. You see what I'm saying? You can trade with Solana and it's cheaper. So Solana's kind of like, that's my unicorn right there. You know what I mean? Like, again, these technicals are ugly. This is ugly right here. I'm not trading a stock that does this more than likely. You know what I mean? But Solana kind of ran at the end of the run. You see, let's go to 2021 November. Look at that. It was late to the party, and that was its top two. Ain't that crazy? Look at that resistance. I just showed you on all of them. And then boom, it dropped. It lost its hat. 250 way down to 7. I was in it at 50. I was in it again at 100. I was kind of trading Solana, and weird is to say, because a lot of them I didn't trade. I would have to go look at the records because I was doing so much with crypto, right? But I know I had it at 50. I had it way before that. I had Avalanche. That was, kind of like a cousin of Solana in a way, because same thing, you're sending it, but it came out and was hyped around the same time. Let's say that, right? So yeah, I had sold into 100. I had sold in wherever I was at, back and forth, but I held some. I don't know why, something about it, first of all, I FOMO'd in, out, whatever, and didn't trade it the best. I made money on it, but that's not always the best. Doesn't mean you traded the best. But the reason why I held some was because I was just convinced on that usage, right? Because again, if you don't know about crypto, you don't know that it might take you time to send crypto. You know what I'm saying? It's not like when you cash app somebody. Some of them are though, right? You can cash app somebody, they gotta pay a fee to put it right in their bank account and have it that day. Same with crypto. The better thing would be you can't cash app somebody in, I don't know, some places you can, but you can't cash app nobody in Canada from here. You know what I mean? Unless they switch it, I don't think. Maybe they changed it, but at some point you couldn't do that. You probably can't cash app somebody here that they got their own, you know what I mean, Naira or whatever. So boom, okay. But with Solana, I could shoot that to you like that. So if I know that, that's like saying, oh, would you rather pay 10% to send something or 1%? Would you rather pay $1 to cash out your money, or would you rather pay $10 to cash out your money? Same thing. You know what I mean? And I was kind of convinced. I held and held. I'm still holding. I'm still buying. But if we look at this drop, it's nasty. 295 it peaked at, and it went back down to 100. Right, 60% down. Now we're creeping back up though. And that's the thing about crypto as well. The ranges are so much bigger. And with Solana, we can just be early. I'm not saying we are. I'm not suggesting. I'm saying I don't know. Nobody knows, and I'd run if they're telling you they know, right? How will you know something that never has a history? Solana doesn't have a history past 2021, right? We don't know. It's not Ralph Lauren. It's not a stock that's been performing for 20 years. This is relatively still new, right? And this chart to me looks better than a lot of other ones, right? But again, who's to say that 300 is going to end up just being another resistance that got destroyed? And in a year or two time, we're talking and Solana's at 500, approaching 1,000, and it doesn't come back down, right? But I'm also realistic to believe we could see this, and they all can go to zero. Why not, right? What's it backed by? You know, that's why I say it's risky. Period. Right? But I'll get, fully into it maybe in another video on, yeah, it's risky, but is it worth the risk? Right? I mean, I'm invested in some of these coins. Would I take out a mortgage on a home like some people to invest in it? No. Would I? Because many people have done that. Oh, Doge is gonna. I remember they thought Doge was gonna hit $1. Let's pull up. That'll be the last one. I'll pull up Dogecoin. Right around here. When is it? May of 2021. Nope. Oh wow. Okay. So that one was already crashing by that November 2021. Look at how far that had crashed. That went from 60 cent back down to 20. And yeah, I wrote all this. This was the one that I got the most from. You know what I mean? So with Doge, and it was just a coincidence. It was just luck or whatever being in so early, right? I didn't believe in it. I didn't more than Solana or more than this or this. I was just in it early. I added. I took profit out and I felt comfortable to add. Like where was that at? Let me see. Come on. Yeah, I was comfortable to add because I was up thousands. I was up so much money on Dogecoin that I didn't really care. Not that I didn't care. Let me rephrase that. I didn't think I could lose. So it wasn't like I was just on, a super beam with it. I didn't think I could lose because I'm like, all right, I made this much money from such a small investment. There's no way I'm going to lose on this. As you see, it's down. See, it was at 4 cents. I feel like I was in at like 5, then 7. So that was like around here. Because when we had that first pop, 26%, no. What was it, 12 cent? Yep. So probably around here. 6 months later, 4 months later, and I'm selling. I'm like, all right, I'm cool. So I was confident down here to jump back in. And I remember, I wish I probably could find the text. I don't delete all my texts, but it was so long ago in different phones. But it's like I told a friend. I remember he was like, we were talking about Doge, and I'm telling him like, bro, it might not never go back to 20 cent, right? Which hindsight's crazy because it did really stop there. What was that, 21? And it rode and tripled, more than tripled on your money. And I was in that. I was adding there and I took some good money. But then as you see, that crashed. So I didn't sell everything, right? I didn't lock the whole thing in, the whole profit I could have in. I left a lot of thousands on the table because I rode it back down. And if you look now, I mean, it recovered a little bit, but again, see, I'm in from here. You know, unless you're planning to just hold with your eyes closed and sit in this ride, don't invest in crypto and think like that. But if you're willing to hold and say, you know what, whatever happens, happens, I'm in it, I'm holding this, I'm holding that, why not hold, every X quarter I'm going to add $2,000 and spread it and average in? I mean, I would say if you know which ones to get into and you have a solid plan, maybe you can go for it.